Hello and welcome to Japanese from Zero. This is designed to be the very first video that you ever watch. My name is George Trombley. I am the author of the Japanese from Zero books. I co-wrote them with my wife many years ago, and we've updated them over the years, and we continually build out the website, which you might be on right now. Japanese is going to be fun for you. It's one of the greatest languages to learn because of anime, because of manga. It's not manga or anime, it's anime and manga. Even if you have been to Japan before, it's completely different when you speak Japanese. And by the way, this says, 新しい世界が広がる. You don't have to remember that, but if you're really cool, you might. There's a lot you're gonna have to learn. If you learn some weird advanced stuff tomorrow, and then it's a dog today, it's okay. A lot of people want to rush. Take time and don't rush. Make mistakes. You know, in retrospect, I should have had a typo in this. The number one reason you won't learn Japanese, you're frightened that you're going to make a mistake, so you never talk. When you start speaking Japanese, you have to act Japanese in a way. Instead of saying, hi, my name is George, you're like, konnichiwa, George to moshimasu. And it sounds foreign and it's awkward. A lot of people get very shy, but you know what? Don't. There's no way to not be shy, I get it, but don't. Don't, because there are years of totally awesome excitement. All right, I'll see you all in the next lesson, which is pronunciation. There's only 5 sounds in Japanese. Here's the sounds. A, I, U, E, O. A, I, U, E, O. Now, I know it says A, I, U, E, O. Anytime you see an A, it's pronounced A. Anytime you see an I, it's pronounced I. And every time you see an I, it's pronounced E. So A, I, U, E, O is how it's pronounced. So when you see K's in front of things, ka, ki, ku, ke, ko, it's so easy. I like to trick you guys a little bit. What if I put, instead of K's, I put P's? Pa, pi, pu, pe, po. Done. There are 105 total, so you're gonna have sa, shi, su, se, so. You're gonna have ta, chi, tsu, te, to, but that's all there is to it. What are the writing systems? There are 3. There's 4. If you count what they call romaji, that is this. That's when to represents to. The first system that the Japanese children in Japan learn is hiragana. This is a phonetic system. That means that it's just sounds. Each of the characters don't have meaning to them, okay? So it's hi, ra, ga, na. All Japanese words can be written in hiragana. There's only like 46 standard hiragana, which you can learn very quickly, okay? Matter of fact, we're gonna learn it in just 9 lessons in this book, or in this course that you're on. The next one is katakana. Now, katakana is a special system that has all of the sounds that hiragana has and a little bit more, because it's used for foreign origin words, like my name. My name is George, but you can't write George in Japanese, so they write it in katakana to say, hey, this is not a Japanese word. So my name in katakana is Georgie. Your country name, unless you're Chinese, unless you're Korean, most countries do not have a kanji for their name. They are just kanji, by the way. Sorry, let me explain what that is. Kanji is Chinese characters. We're going to use a progressive system where we will learn 5 characters in the first lesson. A, I, U, E, O are the only letters you're going to learn at the end of lesson 1. Then, this word, okasan, means mother, which right now is written all 100% in romaji, but when we have learned A, I, U, E, O, it will look like this in the next lesson. O, ka, a, san. Read through the lesson, and the very next lesson we'll talk about numbers, and then right after that we're going to finally get to learning grammar, which is the best thing you can do. Japanese counting is easier than the English system because in English we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, but then we have another set of unique numbers, 11, 12, 13, 14, and then 20, 30, 40, 50. It's another set of unique numbers, whereas Japanese is just 10 numbers, and those 10 numbers can get you all the way to 99. First one is 1, 2, 3, 4. She is in yellow because there's 2 different versions. 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. So let's look at these multiple versions. So 4 has shi and yon. Sometimes you can only use a certain version, 7 and 8, ku or kyu. 11 through 19. In English, you have to now learn 11, 12, 13, all of these weird, unrelated numbers. But in Japanese, you just add. 11, 12, 13. I think you might have figured that one out. So we have 10, we know is the base, right? The start of everything is 10, 10. And 20, 2 tens. Yay, easy. 2 tens, 20. Okay? 30, 30, 30. 40, 40 is 40. It can never, ever, ever, ever be 40. 50, 50. 60, 70. You cannot say 70. Matter of fact, I think you will break your tongue. And 80, 80, 80. And 90 can only be 90. Cannot be 90. Now we're going to combine what we know to do up to 99. So if we want to say 22, it's 22. 22. 2 tens and a 2. You want to say 33? 33. A 3, a 10, and a 3. 33. And 55? 55. 55. Pop quiz time. 44. 44. Now, you could say 44. But it's weird. It's really weird. Because you cannot say shiju, you have to say yonju. It doesn't make sense to switch the version midway through in a number. So you would say 44. So almost everyone in Japan only says 44. They don't say 44. The movie is called 23. It's called the number 23. And in Japanese, this is 23. 23. We only have to learn 2 new words in order to count another 9,900 numbers. It's crazy. We already know 1 to 99. And the new words are 100. 100 means 100. It means 100 and it means 100. You would never say, for example, 100. And 1000. 1000 means 1,000 and just 1,000. So let's just go through them. 100, 100. 200. Now, it would be nice if 100, I could just say the number in front of 100 and it worked. But with hundreds, it's a little bit special. They have special versions. For example, 300. 300. 300. All right, 400, 400. And 500 is 500. 500. 6 again becomes weird. You cannot say 600. You have to do 600. It becomes a double P. Now, when you learn hiragana, this will make a lot more sense. 700. 700. 800. 800 can never be 800. It is 800. And 900. 900 can never be 900. All right, pop quiz time. Here we go. First number is this one. Raise your hand if you thought it was 122. It is just 122. 100 by itself means 100. Okay, next number. Did you know that there are 195 countries on Earth? That's not counting Taiwan because we don't recognize Taiwan as a country, unfortunately. 195. 720. 720, that is the official amount of Pokemon that exist. 720. 720 Pokemon. This next one is for everyone living in England. 999. This is the emergency number in England. In America, it's 911. In Japan, it's 119. 999. Now you can count up to 999. Now we learn one more word, sen, right? And we can do the thousands. Sen by itself means 1,000. You will learn later on, you can say isen for some things, but you don't have to. Right now, it's always going to be sen. That means 1,000. 2,000 is nisen. And unfortunately, just like 100 had 300, 3 is our problem number. It likes to change it to san-zen. If you say san-sen, it is wrong. Everything else gets pretty normal after this. 4,000, 5,000, 5,000, 6,000. Now, it is 6,000, but Japanese kind of say it fast. It becomes like the oo sound disappears. It becomes 6,000. 7,000. 7,000 can never be 7,000. 8,000. 8,000 can never be 8,000. It is 8,000. And final one, 9,000. All right, for the thousands. In this one, we're just going to cover 10,000 to 99,999. And I think we can agree that's a pretty big number. In English, we can say 9,000 and then 10,000. But in Japanese, after 9,000, they start a new unit called man. Now, man means all by itself 10,000. It's like saying thousand. The hard part is that in English, it's 10,000. So you are thinking in your brain, ju-sen. It's ichi-man. 1 unit of 10,000, which just means 10,000. So without me even showing you, how would you say 20,000? What do you think that would be? It's niman. Niman. So 2 units of 10,000. Niman. 30,000 is just 3man. 40,000 is 4man. 5man. 5man, you got it. Go, man. 5man. 60,000, 6man. We're just going to get through these. 7man. Never. 7man. 8man. Good. No problem. And 9man. Never. 9man. You theoretically don't know any Japanese writing, but we're going to learn right now a kanji before we learn anything else. If you see the 4 zeros, you're thinking 10,000. But if you see this, you're thinking it's 1 something. Well, it's 1 man. This is the man unit. So, ichi-man. What does that mean? I'm pretty sure everyone got this. Ichi-man means 10,000. What is this next one? This is ichi-man nisen. Now, you might be thinking it's 2,000. Ichi-man nisen becomes 12,000. That's the tricky part. Ichiman is 10,000. So your brain might register that as just 10,000. This is the base price of a Lexus IS250 as of the filming of this video. It is 33,020. What is this? The price for this right now is $26,677. What is that number in Japanese? 26,677. The zero prequel. We need 3 new words to talk about zero because there are 3 versions of zero and they have their ways that they're used. So first let's talk about zero. If I wanted to say Japanese from zero, I would say zero kara no nihongo. You might see this somewhere. Gomi zero. That means zero trash. Or maybe on the highway, they're trying to have Jiko zero. That means 0 accidents. So they will use 0 like this. Something that's not countable, you want to get to nothing, so you're using 0 there. Rei. Rei still means 0, but it's used in different areas. For example, rei do means 0 degrees. It can be used in mathematics. 0.5 is rei ten go. Maru. Maru just means circle, like circle. If you go to Shibuya, there's a very famous store called Shibuya 109. This in English would be Shibuya 109. They're saying 1 circle 9, and we say 1 letter O 9. 109. First meeting. We're going to talk about what happens when you first meet a Japanese person and what sort of conversation takes place during that first meeting. First phrase is going to be hajimemashite. Hajimemashite. It's only always said to somebody that you just met. So if you say nice to meet you, again, to somebody that you know, well, it's obvious that you forgot about them. Now, the response to this is going to be, you're going to say who you are. Maru maru to moshimasu. Maru means circle. And when you have maru maru, it just means blank. It's like saying a blank. And what this means is, I am called. Literally means I am called. So I would say, Joji to moshimasu, and you bow a little bit. Joji to moshimasu. After you say, nice to meet you, I am so-and-so, then you say this. This is the final thing. Yoroshiku onegai shimasu. It's saying, look, let's be nice to each other. Yoroshiku onegai shimasu. I request of you niceness. That's really what you're saying. Nice to meet you. My name is George. Let's be nice to each other. It's kind of a nice cultural phrase. Now, we learned a bunch of numbers. Let's take those numbers and convert them into years old. Now, sai means years old. You could say, right, ichisai, but it would be wrong. Because what Japanese do is they've shortened it to issai. 2 years old, nisai. 3 years old, sansai. Now, 4 years old can never be shisai. Has to be yonsai. 5 years old, gosai. Now, the pattern that we're setting here works for 22 years old, 43 years old, because you just add the 40 in front and end with the sansai. 6sai, 7sai. 8 years old is never hachisai. It's always hassai. Now, 9sai can never be kusai. Kusai means smelly. Jissai. Right now, you'll also hear this as J-I-S-S-A-I. We can now say ages up to 99 years old, except for one exception. It's kind of like the coming of age. It's like when you're officially an adult in Japan, is 20, hatachi. And there is no sai. That doesn't mean that they say hatachi isai for 21. For 21, he goes back to the actual pattern, which is what? Niju, is it niju ichisai? No. Because remember, there's no such thing as ichisai. It's niju isai. At the making of this video, I am 43. So what is that? Really? I say what is that and you say old? Come on. 43歳. 43歳. 15. And what is that in Japanese? 15歳. 15歳. So now we know how to say our age, but we didn't learn how to ask how old are you? So the question is, very simply, 何歳ですか? All right, and the answer is 〇〇歳です. Unless you're saying you're 20, then the sai wouldn't be there, okay? So for example, I am 43, so if someone said to me, 何歳ですか? I would say 43歳. 43歳, which is, of course, 43. And this question will make your first conversation in Japanese. If anyone ever asks you your age, it means they don't know you, you're a new friend, and if you want to make that conversation fun, this is the phrase you want to ask. If they say to you, 何歳ですか? You say, 何歳に見えますか? And they'll always go, oh! And the answer is, 〇〇に見えます. It's whatever, including the sai, に見えます. So if you look 20, or if they look 20, you can say, 20歳に見えます. If they look like they're 5 years old, you say, 5歳に見えます. So we're going to talk about coming and going in Japanese. And before we do that, we're going to give you some basic phrases. So this is, おはようございます. おはようございます. Now notice I'm lengthening because I have the OU sound, right? おはよう. So that is good morning. おはようございます. Or the short, おはよう. Good afternoon. Now I want you to look at this. There's 2 N's in there. It's not konnichiwa. 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 Don't say konnichiwa. You can and they will understand you, but you will sound completely like a foreigner. Good evening. Konbanwa. Konbanwa. So you could say good evening and you say goodbye and you use it as a goodbye thing. It's not that. This only is when you're first meeting someone in the night, you can say good evening. When you're saying goodbye, you say this one, which is good night. You say, おやすみなさい, 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 ありがとうございます, ありがとうございます. Okay, they kind of lengthen out that mas because it's friendly that way. You'll also hear, now this is in the lesson, you'll hear ありがとうございました, which is past tense. You'll find even Japanese people saying, well, should we say ありがとうございます or ありがとうございました? And doesn't ありがとうございました mean that I was thankful, but now that I'm not? Don't think about it. Just say ありがとうございます. Sayonara. We all know sayonara. Okay, but it's not sayonara number 1. It's sayonara. And you never say it. Don't say it. Unless you're saying goodbye to somebody for many years. Unless you're never going to see them again. Like, this is not a casual phrase. I want you to imagine this scene. Sayonara. That's what you're doing. You're not going to say that, hey, I'm going to go to the convenience store, I'm going to get some milk. Farewell. Don't say sayonara. Say anything else but sayonara. So these are the cultural phrases that we say. When you leave your house in the morning, you say this to everybody in the house. Ittekimasu. Ittekimasu. There's a double T. Ittekimasu means I'm going to go. Itte and kimasu. When you say that, the cultural response is always going to be itterashai, itterashai, and that means literally go and come back. So if you say ittekimasu, or if someone says it to you, then the response is always itterashai. When you come home, this is what you say. You always say tadaima means I'm back. Tadaima. It's wherever you said ittekimasu at, when you go back to that place, you can say tadaima. And there is a set phrase that you will say back to them, or they will say back to you, and it is okaeri nasai. Okaeri nasai means welcome back. Creating simple sentences. So here are some words and phrases that we need. The key word here that we need is nani. Now, nani can't be used in a sentence most of the time. In this case, so far, what you know is it can be used like this. Nani? What? You heard something? You didn't understand? You could say, nani? What we are going to be using is the nan. non-version. So we're gonna learn how to use that. Now here's a major concept. This is called des. Even though it's written as desu, it's gonna be pronounced like des. Now des means is, am, and are. It covers all of them. Nan desu ka? And that just means what is it? There's always a verb at the end of a Japanese sentence. And in this case, des covers that. So when you have this maru maru des, it means it is a maru maru. So if I want to say it's a cat, I just say neko desu. It's so simple, right? Now in English we have this thing called plurals. One pen is a pen. In English you must say two pens. You can never say two pen. But Japanese doesn't work that way. A dog and dogs are both inu. It's kind of nice. Inu desu means they are dogs and it's a dog. And it's all context that makes it happen. How would I say, is it a dog? Inu desu ka? That also means, are they dogs? So what does this mean? Tanaka-san desu ka? Here's the thing. You don't know. If I just said Tanaka-san desu ka, you don't know unless there is context. Let's say I asked it to you. I looked at you and said, Tanaka-san desu ka? Means, are you Mr. Tanaka or Miss Tanaka? Depends, right? Because remember, san can mean Mr. and Miss. It all depends on the context, right? Or if I'm pointing to someone way over there that's a girl, then it would mean, is she Miss Tanaka? Now, this is a real-world question that will happen to you in the very, very beginning of learning Japanese, right after you've said, Hajimemashite, Joji to moshimasu, yoroshiku onegai shimasu. They might say, oh, excuse me, I don't mean to be rude, but Amerikajin desu ka? Amerikajin desu ka? What does that mean? Are you American? Now we need to learn some new words, how to say no and yes. It's iie. Iie. If you do a little bit of gesturing, for example, iie is long, right? It's i, e. But let's say you said ie. Ie means house because it's short. But if you did this, they would hear ie. Use your body to help relay what you're trying to say. Hai. Yes. Hai. It's not hi. It's very abrupt ending. Hai. Now what if someone looks at you and asks this question? Amerikajin desu ka? Are you American? And if you are, you say, Hai, Amerikajin desu. Hai. I'm saying it like a cute girl voice. Hai, Amerikajin desu. This is very, very, very important. We're going to be introducing two new question words. And it starts with one of the words in this list. So we have kore, this, sore, that, are. Now you'll notice on my screen, we have hiragana. That's because this is the progressive version of teaching that is in the Japanese from Zero books. So we are copying what the book does. And right now at this point, after lesson 1, you will have learned a, I, u, e, o hiragana. So we are progressively adding it into the PowerPoints also. Kore, sore, and are mean this, that, and that over there. Now it really doesn't, are really doesn't mean that over there. It means that, but it's used for things that are farther away. And we're going to talk about that in a second, what that means. And then we have the word dore. Dore means which one. So kore means this. Kore, this. If I'm not holding it, but I'm pointing to it, it's very close, I will also say kore. If I'm not holding it and someone else has it, I will say that. I will say sore. Now this is the exact same thing in English. If I'm holding it, I'll say, what is this? But if they're holding it, doesn't matter how far away, I would never say, what is this? I would always say, what is that? You use are when the object you're talking about is far from both you and the person you're talking to. This is what we call the topic marker. A marker always follows the thing that it's marking. Blah, 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 wa. Maru, maru, wa. Like that. This hiragana is actually ha. It's an HA hiragana. It's ha. But in this really weird rule, the topic marker is written with ha, but never read as ha. It's always read as wa. We learned how to say it's a cat. Neko desu. So that's it's a cat, right? But we didn't learn how to say this is a cat. Let's look at it. Kore wa neko desu. Kore is my topic. Wa is the topic marker. And the thing I'm saying about that topic is it's a cat. Everything before wa is the topic or part of the topic. Everything after the wa is a question about the topic or a statement about the topic. What if it was that's a cat? We just changed the topic to that. それは猫です。それは猫です。That is a cat. Wow, what's that thing far away from all of us? あれは猫です。あれは猫です。That's a cat. That thing over there, it's a cat. We have these new words. They're also kosoado. It's こっち、そっち、あっち, and どっち. The only difference between this set of words and the other words are これ、それ、あれ, and どれ are used for one thing to say this one or three things or more. When you have three things or more, you have to use the dore word group, okay? But if you only have two things, this is very limiting. If you only have two things, you have to use the dochi word group. So for example, if I hold up three items, which one is the pen? Pen wa dore desu ka? I have to say dore desu ka because there's three. If I remove one item, now the question cannot be pen wa dore desu ka because we only have one item, or two items. With two items, you must say pen wa dochi desu ka? Which one is the pen? We have one thing to do both, but Japanese for some reason splits it. And that's the rule. Possession and the particle no. In order to make possession or possessive words like I becomes my and you becomes your and him becomes his, those kind of words, you do need the particle no. We're going to talk about that today. You do have to know kakikukeko and gagigukeko, which was taught at the end of lesson 2. It's going to be a little bit awkward as we're mixing what we know. We're progressively adding them into the lesson. That's going to be a little bit weird. Anata. Anata means you. Now in English we have I and me, but Japanese just has watashi. Kare. Kare means him. It means he. It means all those things. Kanojo. Kanojo. Now I do want to point out, kare also means boyfriend. And kanojo also means girlfriend. Now some of you are thinking, oh my gosh, when will I know which one is which? You will know because of context. If you say my kanojo, we're going to learn that in a second, you know it's not my her, it's my girlfriend. Tomodachi. You probably already knew that word before you even started learning Japanese. That means friend. Dare. Dare means who. And dare desu ka means who are you? But context changes the meaning. Dare desu ka to girls, who is she? Pointing to a boy, who is he? Pointing to a group of people because Japanese doesn't have plurals. Dare desu ka? Who are they? Sensei wa dare desu ka? Who is the teacher? Sensei wa dare desu ka? This is the possession marker. It makes something into a possessive. For example, anata no, yours. Watashi no means mine. Kare no means his. Kare no could mean my boyfriend's or my girlfriend's. Kanojo no. Dare no, that's a little bit tricky. Dare no, that means whose. Like, whose is this? Kore wa dare no desu ka? Whose is this? Now you can also put someone's name before no, and then it becomes, like I said, apostrophe S. Georgie no means George's. Kore wa Georgie no mizu desu. This is George's water, mizu. We can also use, without anything following, we just literally, this is what we do. You just add the des after it. Anata no desu. It's yours. Dare no desu ka? You wouldn't say just dare no desu. That makes no sense. Dare no desu ka? Dare no desu ka? Whose is it? Dare no desu ka? Whose is it? Georgie no desu. It's George's. Now let's apply all of the things we already know in Japanese up to this point. By the way, we're only in lesson 3. So we can say this really long sentence now. How would you say it? Whose apple is this? Now I'll give you a little bit of a hint. Think backwards. Whose apple is this? Kore wa dare no ringo desu ka? We have a topic. We have a possession word. We have a noun. We've made it into a question. It's amazing. It's really a great sentence. Kore wa dare no ringo desu ka? Whose apple is this? What if it's my apple? How you say it? Now remember, you don't have to say the kore wa again. We have established a topic. When you serve a ball in tennis, you don't keep serving it. You serve it once until it drops or until you don't know where the ball went. Then you have to get another ball. This is the kore that we're talking about. So next sentence doesn't have to have it. So, これは誰のリンゴですか? The answer, 私のリンゴです. It's mine. It's my apple. Ga is a subject marker. And I want to apologize for the entire Japanese language at this point because we already know wa. Now we're going to learn ga, the subject marker. I will give you rules that help you understand when to use wa and ga. First rule right away is when you're using adjectives, the thing that you're describing is marked with ga. Wa can never come directly after a question word. Ever, never. Who came? Who came to the party? Okay, and that's 誰が来ましたか, which we'll get to. Conversations mostly do not start with a ga. What does wa do? Wa says, this is what we're going to talk about. Ga is the secondary topic marker. Think about it that way. You start with a wa and you eventually get to a ga. Ga is also used for emphasis. So let's look at this guy. すみません、田中さんですか? And he's going to say, いえ、彼が田中さんです. He's emphasizing that I am not Tanaka. No, he is Tanaka. No, he's Tanaka. いえ、彼が田中さんです. And that's when ga must be used. Okay? So those are maybe 3 rules I think that we talked about. Not putting it in front or immediately after a question word. Using it for emphasis. And knowing that typically it doesn't start right in the beginning of a conversation, okay? Today we're going to talk about colors and adjectives, and you have to already know sa, shi, su, se, so, and za, ji, zu, ze, zo. Some new words that we need to know in this lesson are nani iro. Nani iro, literally what color. It literally is just nani and iro, but it's one word. Nani iro. And we need to know the particle to. To is one of the easiest particles. There's nothing ambiguous about it. It just means and. You just put it in between any noun. So for example, we'll just do this in English. I would say scissors, to, ruler, to, pen. Scissors, rulers, and pen. We have this sentence right here. あなたの猫は何色ですか? No new grammar. We just learned a new word and we're plugging it into our existing grammar. What color is your cat? How do you say it's white? 白です or 白いです? 白です to me sounds better. If it's black, you're going to say 黒です. What if it's white and gray? 白と gray です. There are 3 types of adjectives in Japanese. E adjectives. We call these E adjectives. I also sometimes in the book refer to them as true adjectives or a real adjective because it's the only adjective that you could put directly in front of a word and have it modify it. For example, in English, brown dog. We could put a word right in front of it and we don't have to have anything in the middle of those words. So a na adjective, just like an E adjective, it goes in front of a word to modify it when you're directly modifying. And directly modifying means it comes right before the noun. Anything that is a no adjective is a noun that's been turned into an adjective. For example, we know the word Nihon. Nihon means Japan. But if I want to say a Japanese car, I have to put the no in the middle if it's a noun. Nihon no kuruma. E adjectives and na adjectives are actually adjectives, but a na adjective requires you the addition of a na. E adjectives requires no additions, and a noun requires the addition of no. So if you want to use akai, it's an E adjective, red, so akai pen, red pen. Now the noun version can also be used to directly modify. Aka no pen. When you are linking 2 nouns, you must put a no in the middle. Midori. Now, midori is a color. It ends in a sound that sounds like an E, but it's not an actual E. It is a noun, and there is no E adjective version. That's the same thing with murasaki, purple. And if you want to use those colors to directly modify, midori no pen, green pen. So let's go ahead and take everything that we know, and we're going to make a big sentence here. Aka no kuruma wa anata no kuruma desu ka? What's the topic? Aka no kuruma is before the wa. The topic is a car. What kind of car? It's directly modified. It is a red car. What are we going to ask about the red car? Because everything after a wa is a question about the topic or a statement about the topic. So, what about it? Anata no kuruma desu ka? Is it your car? Is the red car your car? Today's going to be all about liking and disliking. Also, you have to know ta, chi, tsute to, and da, ji, zu, de, do. Now keep in mind, this ji and this zu, not as commonly used as the other ji and zu that you learned in sashi suseso. So just keep that in mind. You will see these, but not as much. So we do need to learn some new words. Ski. Even though it is suki, it's going to mostly sound like ski. Dislike, which is the opposite of like. Notice I didn't say hate. This is like and dislike. Ski and kirai. Then you've got daisuki. Daisuki means to like it a lot. Dai, when you end up learning the kanji, you'll find out that that means big. So it's a big like. You love it. But it's not love, even though it says to love. Now they do have a verb for love. It is aisuru. But Japanese people would never say, "Uwa, kono hasami aishiteru. I love these scissors." What they would say though is daisuki. And the opposite of that is daikirai. Stupid bug spray. Daikirai. I hate this bug spray. Now that does mean hate. If you want to say, do you like it? How would you say it? Suki desu ka? Do you like it? Do you like what we're doing? Suki desu ka? Kirai desu ka? Do you dislike it? Kirai desu ka? How would you say, what do you like? Now, stop. Don't go too quick. What do you like? We learned a rule that you can never have a wa directly after a question word. We're going to start a sentence with nani. So it cannot be nani wa. Nani ga suki desu ka? What do you like? We could say, anata wa nani ga suki desu ka? But Japanese sentences often assume the topic. Look at this one. I can change the question word from nani to dare. So maybe there's a girl and she likes you, but she doesn't know who you like. So she walks up to you and she says, "Dare ga suki desu ka?" Who do you like? Using your advanced grammar, using your understanding of Japanese words, using just what we've learned in these videos alone, you can now say, what color do you like? I bet you said blue. Nani iro ga suki desu ka? Nani iro ga suki desu ka? And if you like blue, you would say, ao ga suki desu. Now, big sentence. So you see this, you hear this said to you. Nihon no tabemono, pause. Nani ga suki desu ka? In this sentence, there is something missing, but it's not important. The Japanese that you hear is not going to always have everything in it. Do you know what it is? Tabemono means food, and Nihon no modifies it into be Japanese food, right? Now I'm going to tell you what's missing, for those of you that want to know. It is Nihon no tabemono no nani ga suki desu ka? What of Japanese food do you like? But we're going to talk about how no can be of in another lesson. But you don't need it here. You literally could just say, Nihon no tabemono nani ga suki desu ka? Maybe you like fish, so you would say, sakana ga suki desu. There's one way to remember fish, sakana. It's suck on a fish. Making things negative with janai. Any noun plus janai makes it not that thing. Not a blah, blah, blah. This janai concept has different versions. There is ja arimasen, and there is dewa arimasen. The most common way that Japanese people say not is janai. It's not casual if there's a des following it. It's only casual if you don't have des. This is water, right? Mizu. But this is not water. So I would say mizu janai. But if I say it like that, mizu janai, it's kind of abrupt and awkward. If I don't know you, like you think I'm mad at you, hey, is that water? Not water. Mizu janai. So we'll say mizu janai desu. Pen janai desu. Sounds like a sickness. Like, yeah, went to the doctor today and it turns out I got penjinitis of the liver. Here we have this animal that we don't know what it is. But I'm going to ask you because I think I know what it is. I think it's a dog. So I'm going to ask you, inu desu ka? There's two ways to answer. You can say, iie, neko desu. No, it's a cat. But what if I don't know what it is, but I know for certain it's not a dog? Then I would just say, iie, inu janai desu. No, it's not a dog. Someone asks me, Tanaka-san desu ka? I'm not Tanaka. So I will respond as, Tanaka janai desu. Now, some of you who are astute are thinking, where is the san? Remember, never can you put san on your own name. Like, well, I'm not Mr. Tanaka. Sounds okay in English. bad in Japanese. 好き and 嫌い, you can make them negative by adding じゃない to them. So if you want to say don't like, 好きじゃない or 好きじゃないです。嫌いじゃない. Now, 嫌いじゃない is a really great phrase. It means you don't dislike it. I'm going to say this delicately. Japanese people are not as direct as we are in America and in other countries. A lot of, like for example, Koreans are extremely direct. When I go to Korea, they say exactly what they think. Japanese don't. Japanese people are very, I think, I don't want to sound negative. They're wishy-washy, but they do it in a way so that they don't commit to a certain thing. They don't want to hurt someone else's feelings. So they would never say to you, 嫌いです. They would never say that they hate you, right? They typically would say, and I say typically because there's always those rule breakers, but most people are going to say, 好きじゃないです. I don't like. Don't like is much kinder than 嫌い, and certainly way kinder than 大嫌い. Okay? But, you know what's even better is 嫌いじゃないです. You ask, and I always say a girl because I'm a guy, but let's say you ask somebody, 私が好きですか? Do you like me? Now, see how ga marks the thing that you like? And I am that thing. So I could have an anata wa in front, but it's not necessary because I know who you are. I know that I'm talking to you. I could also say, by the way, does Mamiko like me? Mamiko-san wa watashi ga suki desu ka? Does Mamiko-san, the topic of the sentence, like me, the subject of the sentence? If I want to let you down nicely, and the girls will do that because they are brought up in a society of being kind to people and not hurting other people's feelings as casually as we do in America. You know what you did to me, Jennifer? She's going to say to you, 嫌いじゃないです. I don't dislike you, right? Or she might say, oh, I think we're really great friends. They're going to friend zone you right away, but it's going to be very nice. 嫌いじゃないです. You don't want to hear, 好きじゃないです. I don't like you. I mean, that's pretty harsh. 大好きです. You're in. That's your girlfriend or your boyfriend. 大好きです. I like you a lot. Now we're going to talk about something called the one pronoun. We know aka is red, ao is blue, oishii is delicious. Now what the one pronoun is we are going to turn these into the red one by adding no. The red one, aka no, and the blue one, ao no, oishii no, the delicious one. Keep in mind, there is another no that we're going to learn in another lesson that is different when it comes after oishii no. It can mean something else. But right now, it makes it the delicious one. If I'm holding three things up, or I'm trying to choose out of these 3 or 4 types of foods in front of me, I'm going to ask my friend for advice. Say, どれが美味しいですか? Which one tastes good? 赤と青のが美味しいです. 赤と青のが美味しいです. It means the red and blue ones are delicious. You can like the brown ones. 茶色のが美味しいです. Those are good. Today we are going to talk about making E adjectives negative. This skill works with verbs later on, but right now we're going to do everything in adjectives, okay? And you will need to know na, ni, nu, ne, no. Let's get to some new words that are taught in this lesson and that are very important. First word is hoshii. Hoshii. If you remember from the prior video, suki and kirai were not adjectives. Well, hoshii is an E adjective, and that's going to be very important today. All right, hot, atsui. This is a great word to know, atsui. So what do we do with E adjectives? Well, what you cannot do is say janai after it. You cannot say atsui janai to mean it's not hot. Without exception, you're going to say minus the E becomes atsu, and then you're going to add this thing called kunai. Atsukunai. It becomes a new word to not be hot. Atsukunai. Samui. Cold. Remove the E. Samukunai means not cold. You can never say samui kunai. And you could never say, for example, the word for today is kyo. Okay, kyo. You can never say kyo wa samui kunai. You can never say kyo wa samui janai desu. Can never do that. It is kyo wa samukunai desu. Today is not cold. Sushi ga oishiku nai desu. Sushi's not delicious. Who thinks that? Tenki means weather. Tenki ga atsuku nai desu. The weather isn't hot. Let's show you the power of learning grammar versus learning a bunch of words and phrases. Okay, this is the power of grammar. I'm going to show you a word that you've never seen before. It's not taught in the book. And you're going to be able to make it negative. The word is suppai. Now, remember what that little tsu does. We've talked about this. It's in the books at least. It makes this P a double P, okay? So suppai, suppai. So suppai means sour. Remon ga suppai desu. The lemon is sour, or lemons are sour. You just learned this word, but you know how to say that they're not sour. So how would you say apples are not sour? Ringo ga suppakunai desu. Ringo ga suppakunai desu. We all know kawaii, I hope, Japanese culture is defined by being kawaii. Now notice, kawaii has two E's at the end of it. So it's kawaii. A lot of people mess this up. They say it wrong, and it sounds like this. Kawaii. Kawaii means scary. That could become a bad. You don't want to call a girl scary. So here's the difference. Kawaii. Kawaii versus kawaii. Kawaii. Neko ga kawaii desu. The cat is cute, or cats are cute. Inu ga kawaii desu. You see the main difference? Like, to the untrained ear, they sound the same. Inu ga kawaii desu means the dog is scary. Neko ga kawaii kunai desu. We've taken one of the E's. Remember, there are two E's. Cats aren't cute, or the cat isn't cute. What about dogs? Dogs aren't scary. I mean, most dogs aren't that scary, are they? Inu ga kowakunai desu. Locations and the doko word group. And really, this is the introduction to location, because in book 2, we go a lot further with locations. We learned ha, hi, hu, he, ho, babi, bubebo, and papi, pupe, po. New words in this lesson are koko, here, soko, there, asoko, over there, and doko, where. And they are ko, so, a, do words. Naka, inside, like inside the house, and soto, outside. Neko wa doko desu ka? Neko wa doko desu ka? Where is the cat? Someone sees her and just goes, oh, soko desu, soko desu. It's right there, soko desu. What if it's an outside cat? And it went outside and you just want to say, oh, it's outside. Soto desu. Really small difference. Soko, soto. Oh, it's way over there, it's over there. Asoko desu. What if you're out in the backyard and you're doing a barbecue and the cat was out there, but you don't know where it went, and someone says, Neko wa doko desu ka? And the cat's inside. Naka desu. Here we have our friendly businessman who we have named Tanaka-san. What's behind his back, I wonder? Like, he's kind of shady the way he's holding his hand. I feel like as the lessons progress, we might find out that Tanaka-san has a gun behind his back and he's going to shoot us. He might be mafia. We don't even know. Where is Tanaka-san? Where is he? Tanaka-san wa doko desu ka? It's a little bit awkward, but this is completely okay in Japanese. Ie desu. Now, that same phrase, ie desu, can mean it's a house, but in the context of Tanaka-san wa doko desu ka? Ie desu, it now means in the house or at the house. I'm not even going to show you the sentence yet, but let's say we want to know where tastes good is really what we want to say. There is a way to say it where doko desu ka is used, but we're going to use doko in front. Doko ga oishii desu ka? Where is delicious? And we probably had a topic already about, hey, let's go eat. We've already saying, tabetai desu. And if McDonald's is good, you're just going to say, McDonald's ga oishii desu. I know that's hard to say. The connection, but. I screwed it up. I meant to say the but sentence connector. So in lesson 7, we need to know hahi hueho, babi bubebo, and papi pupepo. But more importantly, we need to know this new word, demo. We also need to know I and yoi. I and yoi both mean the same thing. However, when you're saying good, you typically only say I. For the negative, you use the yoi one. So you say yokunai. Normally, you just drop the E and add kunai to any adjective and it works, but this is kind of an exception. I becomes yokunai. Wa is used for comparison and emphasis. Now this rule, we haven't needed until now. Inu ga suki desu. I like dogs. Demo is a comparator word, but neko wa kirai desu. Now I'm using wa to emphasize. Kore ga ii desu. This is good. Demo, kore wa yokunai desu. But this, it isn't good. So that's where we're using ga, right? we're using ga in the first sentence, and then that kind of switches the next sentence to wa, right? We're basically using wa when emphasizing what normally would be ga in that sentence, right? And since I'm wearing my green shirt today, my midori no shatsu, I felt like my hat would go well with it too. Apparently this is a Minecraft hat. Kind of a big topic today. It is months, days of the month. I thought it was something else. It's months and days of the month, which aren't that difficult, but they require you to know some counting and to learn some new counting that we don't know yet. You will need to know ma, mi, mu, me, mo. First new word today is itsu. Itsu just means when. And nangatsu. Nangatsu means what month. Nannichi. Nannichi, not nanichi. That is very important. So nannichi means what day of the month. We're going to learn some sets of words here. It's very important. The set is today, tomorrow, and yesterday. They're very important. Kyo, ashita, ashita, not ashita. Never ashita. It's ashita, kino. Remember, it is lengthened because we have that u at the end that effectively basically doubles the sound of the o before it, right? So it's kino, kino. It's really just a lengthener. Now that we have these day words, let's get to the main part of this lesson, and that is days of the month. These are a little bit tricky because it's based on a counting system that we don't know. So first day of the month is tsuitachi. Tsuitachi. Futsuka. So futsuka means the second. Mikka. You have to say mikka, not mika. The fourth is yokka. Really important to make sure that you know that little tsu is there, because when we get to the eighth, you're going to see they look similar. Itsuka, itsuka, muika, muika, nanoka, nanoka, yoka, yokka is the fourth, yoka is the eighth, kokonoka, and the 10th, toka. After the first 10, it's just number plus nichi. There are, however, 3 special ones. Hatsuka is special. It's the 20th. Don't ask me why. I actually don't know why that one is special. The 14th and the 24th follow the same pattern. Nijuyokka and Juyokka. How do you say, speaking of today, what day of the month is it? That's not how you would say it in English, brother. You would just say, what day of the month is today? Kyou wa nannichi desu ka? What if I said, I'm sorry, this makes no sense. This makes no sense. That means, when is today? That makes no sense. Let's just imagine that the kyowa wasn't there. It's not there. So Sheila's birthday, blah, 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 coming up, blah, blah, blah. And someone says, what? Wait, itsu desu ka? When is it? Here we go. This is better. Let's talk about a party. A party can be when, right? So, party wa nannichi desu ka? What day of the month is the party? What if it was the 21st day of the month? 21日desu. What if it was one day prior to that? The 20th. You guys are smart. 20日. But I could also say, party wa itsu desu ka? When is the party? And the exact same answer. I could literally say either one of these questions and still get 21日desu. Months are luckily easy. It's just number plus gatsu. 1月, 2月, 3月, 4月. Never 4月 ever. 5月, 6月, 7月, never 7月, always 7月, 8月, 9月, never 9月, and 10月. And you can guess what November and December are. 11月 is November and 12月 is December. And this is really easy if you always knew what number the month was. If you don't know what number the month is normally, this is going to help you out tremendously. How would you answer this question? Christmas wa nangatsu desu ka? It is, in fact, in December, 12月 desu. Now, I went ahead and put this up just to show you that typically Japanese, most of the time they're going to write the numbers that we're familiar with. Japanese use I forgot these are called Arabic numbers. They're actually called Arabic numbers. Kodomo no hi wa itsu desu ka? So that's one of the words in this lesson. Kodomo no hi, it means Children's Day. When is Children's Day? Now, right now, we could say the complete day, but let's just start with the month. 5月 desu. It's in May, because maybe you didn't remember the whole day. But the whole day is 5月5日です. It is May 5th. Matter of fact, there's a whole bunch of really cool holidays all in a row in Japan, and they call that Golden Week, and it starts in the beginning of May. It's the huge holiday season in Japan. You might not want to book a trip to Japan on Golden Week because a lot of places will be sporadically closed, but your friends will have time to hang out with you maybe. If you want to say a complete date, you say month and then day of the month, just like English. New Year's Day, January 1st. 1月1日, not 1月1日. But if you were going to accidentally say 1日, saying 1月 in front of it would make them understand better because it's wrong. It's like saying oh, it's January 1 day. But if a Japanese person did that to you, you would understand that you meant the first. January 28th is the Chinese New Year, and this year, or next year, sorry, for 2017, it will be January 28th. What is that in Japanese? 1月28日. February 14th. We all know this. This is Valentine's Day. If you said 2月14日, so close. But wrong. 2月14日. Alright? July 20th, it is 7月20日. Not 20日. Must be 20日. Up until now, we have used des as a future tense only or a present tense. So the past tense form of des is deshita, not deshita. It blends very nicely into deshita. Just like des is, am, are, this is was and were. Let's go back and look at some things that we already know, and then we're going to add past tense to it. So, party wa nannichi desu ka? What day of the month is party? I think we remember that. Party wa itsu desu ka? Now, this is a much more broad way to ask when the party is, right? It literally is when is the party instead of what day of the month is the party. So, if the party is on the 15th, you would say, party wa 15日desu. But what if the person asking you had already missed it? Party wa 15日でした. Very simple. Wherever you are using des, you just replace it with でした, and now it is past tense. What if someone has asked you, when is your birthday? 誕生日はいつですか? 誕生日はいつですか? Or they say, instead of when, they say, what month is your birthday? 誕生日は何月ですか? You could answer, let's say your birthday is in October. You could say, 誕生日は10月です. If someone says to you, 誕生日はいつですか? And it was like, it was the 15th. Let's give it another date. Let's say that your birthday was on the 5th. It was on the 5th. You're going to be like, 誕生日は5日でした. 誕生日は5日でした. My birthday was on the 5th. Remember, it's not 5日, it is 5日. Today we're going to talk about, or in this video I guess, because some of you have been watching the videos nonstop, it's the same day. It's days of the week and years. And also you do need to know ya, you, yo, which are super important because after ya, you, yo, when you learn the compound hiragana, you need to know ya, you, yo. It's the most important 3 hiragana probably that you need to know. And wa, wo, un. Finally we add un. Un is, I realized yesterday, my favorite hiragana. It's like a Zorro thing, like, it's really cute. All right, let's look at some new words. New words are nanyobi. Nice little un right there. I love un. You know what's great about un? So if you add a u in front of un, like a u, it's just a quick way to say yes. It's kind of sweet. Okay, so nanyobi, what day of the week? And what year is nannen? Nannen. Okay, so we have these 3 words that we need to know that are year related. We have kotoshi, this year, kyonen, last year, and rainen, next year. So kotoshi, kyonen, rainen. Now we need to know days of the week. Let's just go through them because they're kind of important. You're going to use them every day of the week. Getsuyobi, getsuyobi. 火曜日、火曜日、火曜日、水曜日、水曜日、木曜日、木曜日、金曜日、金曜日、TGI 金曜日、土曜日、土曜日、and nichiyobi. Now, you could just memorize this entire list. Getsuyobi, kayobi, suyobi, mokuyobi, kinyobi, doyobi, nichiyobi, but it's a lot of things, right? It's yobi, 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 yobi over again. So instead of that, what you can do is, you can learn what the Japanese do. They just do the first part, the part that I've just now colored yellow. Getsu, ka, sui, moku, kin, do, nichi. They say it really fast. Getsu, ka, sui, moku, kin, do, nichi. Getsu, ka, sui, moku, oh my gosh, my brain. Getsu, ka, sui, moku, kin, do, nichi. Getsu, ka, sui, moku, kin, do, nichi. So they say it like that. And a lot of times, if they're saying a bunch of days in a row, like, oh, what days are you working? Oh, I work sui, kin, nichi. They'll say it like that. They'll say just the first part of it. I don't want you to do that yet because it takes a little bit of knowing how the days of the week work. I'd rather have you say mokuyobi to kinyobi to nichiyobi. That's what I'd rather have you say at this point. Let's say I wanted to ask you, what is the day of the week today? Before I show it to you, I'd like you to think about it. Someone got it. I heard it. It's kyou wa nanyobi desu ka? Now, if I looked at you and just said nanyobi desu ka, and there was no prior topic, you would assume you mean what day of the week is it without there being a today. So how would you say Tuesday? Kayobi desu. What if it was Thursday? Mokuyobi desu. You couldn't say moku desu. You couldn't say ka desu. You couldn't do that. If you said ka desu, it would mean it's a mosquito. You don't know a lot of Japanese yet. You're very limited in your Japanese. So the things you can say are very basic. But using what you know, we can now ask somebody, nanyobi ga suki desu ka? Nanyobi ga suki desu ka? What day of the week do you like? Now look, in the beginning, it's okay to have these super basic conversations. That's how you build up your basic understanding of Japanese. Getsuyobi ga suki desu. I like Monday. Getsuyobi. What if someone asks you, Tanjoubi wa itsu desu ka? Now, if someone asks you, Tanjoubi wa itsu desu ka? And it's like next week, you could just say, or it's this week on a Friday, you could just say it's Friday. You could do that. You could now also give them the full date of your birthday, which for me is 10月29日です. What if my birthday is tomorrow? 明日です. 明日です. What we have on the screen right now says 2000年. We learned counting way, way, way back, maybe 20 some videos ago. And this is where we're going to use it. If you want to say the year 2000, you just say 2000 and add a nen. But what about something like 1972? Now in English we've split it up into two numbers, but in Japanese you cannot just say 1972 nen. You can't do that. You have to say 1972. 1972年. That also means 1972 years. This means the year of 1972 and 1972 years, okay? How would you say, what year is it this year? 今年は何年ですか? I imagined that it was 9 years in the future. It's 9 years in the future from 2016. 2025年です. How would you say 1985? 1985年です. This next and last dates. Now there's a lot of words we need to learn. Let's go through them. We need to know how to say 先週. That means last week. Now you'll notice a pattern. Sengetsu is last month. They both start with sen. 今週, this means this week. And 今月. So 今 means this in this case. But really, the kanji for that is really now. Now, some of you who have already studied a little bit of Japanese might know that now is not kon, it's ima. But what you'll start learning in book 3 is that kanji has the multiple readings, and one of the readings for ima is kon. Now, it sounds hard, but I promise you, it's what makes Japanese really, really awesome. To know the way words are made up is like knowing Latin for English. It's really, really amazing. So, 今週, 今月, 来週, for next week, and anyone now who guesses that next month is rai getsu, wow, you're really smart. But now you see the pattern. Sen, kon, rai. What about next year? We learned this year, last year, and next year in the last video, right? It was kotoshi. Huh, it doesn't fit the pattern, right? It seems like it would be nice if it was sennen, but sennen means 1,000 years. It won't work. But last year is kyonen. Kyonen. Not kyo, like today, shortened. Kyo. kyonen is last year. Kotoshi is this year. And last year is kyonen. So it's very complicated. But when you see next year's rainen, you might think, oh, it's sennen, konnen, and rainen. But it is not. It's kotoshi, kyonen, rainen. What if your birthday is next week? So I say to you, 誕生日はいつですか? 来週です. It's next week. What if it was next month? 来月です. So you see, we can just use those words like normal. There's nothing special about them. We're going to combine weeks and days of week together to say, it's next Friday. You say, 来週の, and then that day of the week. 来週の, for example, 金曜日. What if your birthday was this Thursday? You would say, Thursday of this week. 今週の木曜日. 今週の木曜日. What if your birthday was last Wednesday? In all of these other answers, des should be there. If someone says to you, 誕生日はいつですか? You don't just say, 来週の金曜日. It's way abrupt. The only difference is, because it's past, we have to have でした now. So, 先週の水曜日でした. 先週の水曜日でした. It was Wednesday. You jerk. Asking things. This is lesson 10 in book 1, this book right here. And asking things is a very simple lesson, so we're not going to take a long time in this video. You do have to know ra, ri, ru, re, ro. Now the two main things that we need to know for this lesson are ください. You'll notice that there is a little squiggly in front of it. Whenever you see a squiggly before or after a word, it means something is required. You're never going to just say ください. ください. You're not going to do that. ください almost always works with something in front of it. お願いします. お願いします is another way to say please. It also means I request. You might remember it from よろしくお願いします. In order, oh, and by the way, お願いします can be used all by itself. That's the one where you can go お願いします. 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 You'll also hear the casual version of it, which is just お願い. お願い. Mo. Fancy name for mo is the inclusion marker. It means also or to. Like me too, or scissors also. If someone can ask you, 何が好きですか? Maybe you're in a language class. I would say, and maybe you would say, 日本語が好きです. I like Japanese language. Oh yeah. 韓国語も好きです. I also like Korean language. So notice that we have the ga here. The mo replaces the ga. It doesn't get added to it. It completely replaces the ga. So 韓国語も好きです instead of ga. Means I also like. でもスペイン語は嫌いです. Now I'm using the wa to emphasize that I don't like Spanish. でもスペイン語は嫌いです. Tagalog means Tagalog, okay? Tagalog mo嫌いです. I also dislike Tagalog. Wo is always a particle. It's almost never written as anything else, okay? It is the object marker. I know that doesn't make sense yet, but it marks an object. We're going to use it today, ikura. So if you want to ask somebody, how much is it? Ikura desu ka? You're at McDonald's and you're going to order. Here's how the dialogue might go. Nani ga ii desu ka? Which means what is good. But in this case, it's like, well, what is good for you? What would you like? S no potato o kudasai. S no potato o kudasai. Now, in this lesson, we learned the three sizes, right? S, M, L. Yes, that's what they say. O is marking the object. S no potato o kudasai. Anything plus o kudasai. Hamburger to L no cola mo kudasai. Also give me hamburger and a large cola. Mo is now replacing the object marker. Ikura desu ka? How much is it? 1,600 yen desu. A lot of people kept asking after the number lesson, are you going to do a video on counters? Yep. I'm going to do it right now. We're going to start with counters that are in book 1, lesson 11. There are a lot of counters in Japanese. And by the way, we have finished hiragana. You need to know what these are. This is ka, kyu, kyo, sha, shu, sho, cha, chu, cho. Those are some of the compound hiragana that you learned, which remember I said ya, yu, yo were really important a couple videos back, or the last video, if I can even remember. This is why, because that little small ya-yu-yo is what you need to make the compounds. And even within here, I can see two words. They're basically sounds. Ka! Ka! That's Japanese screaming. And then you've got chu, chu. That's the Japanese sound for a kiss. And also it's the sound that a mouse makes. Chu, 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 chu. The very first counter and most important counter is what we're going to call the ikutsu counter. The word that we're calling the counter is the question word. How many? I know it's weird, but even the word changes based on the counter that you're using. And how does it change? When do you know what counter to use? In Japanese, it's based on the shape of the object, the type of the object. Now in English, believe it or not, we have the same thing. For example, we say slice of pizza, we say piece of cake, we say grains of sand. See what I'm saying? The ikutsu counter counts like this. 1つ、2つ、3つ、4つ、5つ、6つ、7つ、8つ、9つ、10. That's the generic. And you'll see all of these little objects that I have on the screen. We have a chair, we have a hamburger, which I accidentally called a hamu-baga, but it's a hamburger. If I have one thing in my hand, I cannot say ichi. You have to say, I have 1つ. Now I have two things. 2つ. It also covers abstract things that are not physical things. For example, I have one idea, okay? Idea, 1つ. One idea, okay? You could have, the only thing you really can't use this for is living things, because they have a whole separate counter that we will get to in, I think, lesson 4 of book 2. All right, let's look at the next one, which is also a generic counter. This is the nanko counter, nanko. Like nanko is round and small things typically. But the thing about the ikutsu counter, the first one that we just did, is it ends at 10. After that, it jumps to the nanko counter. It continues as a nanko counter. 1個、2個、3個、4個, just like that, it continues. Don't say, I just realized this. Okay, so we had 4個, right? Well, if you said shiko here by mistake, shiko, that means urine. I shouldn't have said piss, but yeah, that's what it means. So as you can see, the things that get counted with nanko are generally all small fruits, round things, all sorts of ball types. Then we have the nambon counter. Now the nambon counter is a little bit rough. It could be a P sound, an H sound, or a B sound. So that last character could be ho, bo, or po. And it does that depending on what number it is. The main thing you need to know is that this is for long cylindrical objects. For example, trains. If there are 700 trains that come into the track every day, then you would use the hon counter. The final counter is the nammai counter. This is thin, flat things. Now that we know how the counters work, let's go through some patterns. There's a sort of a soft rule that almost always works. You can never have a particle directly after a counter. Remember that, it's a soft rule, I'm not gonna make it a hard rule, but it almost always works. So for example, if I say, give me 2 please, I can just say, 2つください. It is written as 2つ, but when they write it down, a lot of times they're just gonna write a 2 and a 2. You'll just have to know it's 2つ. And when you know kanji later on, you'll know that 2 is one of the ways that ni is read in kanji. So if you want 2 things, and we don't know what they are, it could be anything because we're talking about generic things, you just say 2つください. If you want 3 things, it's 3つください. If you want 10 things, it's とください. Now honestly though, when you get to とください, they might say 10個, because 10個 feels better than と. I almost never feel like I hear people say とください. There's 2個. If you want to round, like let's say your apple, you want some apples, and give me 2 please. 2 apples please. 2個ください. Now let's say, give me 2 of a specific item. That's going to be pattern number 2. So you'll say, 〇〇を number ください. Please give me amount of this thing, please. And by the way, when we say ください, remember, we could replace that with お願いします. We could have said 2つお願いします, which is better. It's much more polite. So please be polite. But ください isn't rude. ペンを5本ください. Please give me 5 pens. So notice that the object that we want is the pen. And that's why the object marker O is after pen. That's how we know that that is the target that we want, the object that we want. Now, I'm going to let you know something. In English, typically the target, the object is at the end of the sentence. This is the most simple way to say there are this many things. There are 5 pens. ペンは5本です。紙は5枚です。There are 5 sheets of paper. 紙は5枚です。Final pattern. This is asking how many are there. Every counter has its own version of how many. So it's 〇〇はいくつですか? How many 〇〇 is there or are there? ペンは何本ですか? ペンは何本ですか? 紙は何枚ですか? We're going to do basic Japanese verb conjugation in this lesson. So we're going to learn just 4 verbs. But with those 4 verbs, we're going to lay down rules that you will use for the rest of your Japanese life. Iku. Iku means to go. Kuru. Kuru means to come. Iku and kuru. You're going to use these all the time. To return. Also to return home. This is more often return home. Kaeru. 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 Wakaru is to understand. We call anything that has the a sound, we call that a form. Anything with the e sound, e form, and so on. Every verb in Japanese, the dictionary form ends in an u form. So I'm going to give you a pattern to conjugate verbs into the various forms. And the way you do it is change the final u form to the e form. Wakaru becomes wakari. Once we have that, by the way, the e form is the polite conjugation, okay? Then you add your endings. The first one is mas, will do or do. So this is future and presently I do this thing form. Masen, won't do in the future and don't do right now. Mashita, not mashita, right? Just like ashita, it's mashita, did, okay? And masen deshita, which is didn't. All you do is add those to the e form of the verb and your verb has been conjugated. So we have the base now of wakari, to understand, and we're going to go through them, right? Wakarimasu means I understand. Wakarimasen, I don't understand. Wakarimashita means I got it. So a lot of times Japanese people just say, Wakarimashita. Hai, wakarimashita. That means understood, understood. They heard what you said and they understood what you meant. Wakarimasen deshita. I didn't understand. Kaeru, to return home. Kaerimasu. You can say that on the phone to your wife. Kaerimasu. Kaerimasen. Oh gosh, if you said that to your wife, what happened? I'm not returning home. Kaerimasen. You're talking on the phone. Tell your friend, hey, I got home now. Kaerimashita. I have returned. Kaerimashita. I have returned. I didn't return home. I didn't return. Kaerimasen deshita. It is time and location particles, and this is what I think is the light bulb moment. So we need to know 2 new particles, okay? New particles. The first particle is a location marker, and there's 2 versions of it. There's ni and e. It's written as he, but it's pronounced e. You're going to hear some people say, ni and e are basically interchangeable. There are times where you absolutely cannot use e. You can always use ni. The official thing that e does is it's used to mean towards a direction. It's when you're heading to this large general area, you're going to use e. And when you're going to a specific area, you're going to use ni. To where are you going? Where are you going? Doko ni ikimasu ka? And you'll notice, Tokyo ni ikimasu. Doko ni ikimashita ka? Where did you go to? Oh, I went to my friend's house. Tomodachi no ie ni ikimashita. Say that right now and tell me that doesn't feel good coming off your tongue. Tomodachi no ie ni ikimashita. Tomodachi no ie ni ikimashita. Sounds so Japanese. Tomodachi no ie ni ikimashita. You gotta be proud. That just sounds like you're saying, so we learned the location particles ni and e. Now we're going to learn a completely new particle that marks time. Guess what? It's ni. You could imagine that ni just does all those things. It marks time and location. But I like to think of it as a separate thing. So we introduce it as a separate thing, okay? Because it can be in a sentence twice. Once it comes after the location, once it comes after the time. A time can be a month, a day of the week, a date in the month. And it means in, on, or at whatever the English requires. Let's see how we can use it. 何月に行きますか? What month are you going? 6月に行きます. I'm going in June. Okay, so let's say you're coming back to America and your mother randomly happens to be Japanese. She's going to say, what day of the week are you coming back? Because she wants to plan picking you up. 何曜日に帰りますか? 何曜日に帰りますか? Remember, it's not kai, it's kae. A lot of people say kairi, but it's kaeri, kaeri. It's a little bit subtle sound there. 多分月曜日に帰ります。Maybe or probably I'll return on Monday. Okay? What if you are waiting for a Japanese exchange student to visit you in America? They stayed at your house a few years back and now they're just revisiting your new home and you're like, hey, when are you coming? When are you coming? This one's tricky. I'm not gonna lie. You probably will get this wrong. It's いつ来ますか? There is a rule. You can never have ni after いつ. Ever. You just can't do it. It's like saying to when. To when are you coming? That makes no sense, right? We don't ever say that. We just say when are you coming? So it's never いつに来ますか. It's いつ来ますか? Nothing in between. いつ来ますか? So if you're gonna go, what is this? We learned this a couple lessons back. 来週の金曜日に行きます. Nice. We're using all of our grammar. It's so sweet. We had a plan coming to this point. Now we're using it. 来週の金曜日に行きます. I'm going Friday of next week. Or I'm going next Friday. For those of you who got it, I mean, hats off to you. You guys are totally kicking it. Telling time. So we're going to learn a couple of new words, or I should say a few new words that are very important. Nanji. Nanji. What time? All right. Here's another important word that many young people get. It's arubaito. Arubaito. So arubaito is from German. It's not a Japanese word. Therefore, it is a Japanese word. But because it's foreign origin, it's not going to be written in hiragana. Therefore, it's written all in romaji right now because we don't know any katakana yet, theoretically. And in German, it means work. But in Japanese, it means part-time job. Remember that work in Japanese is shigoto. All right, and this is another one that's kind of important. The opposite of having a job or the opposite of working is yasumi, right? Having a day off. Yasumi means break, day off. Like if you just take a 10-minute break, that's a small yasumi. There's another word for that, but we don't need to know that right now. But you can also take a long vacation. That's also yasumi. So we're going to learn how to say o'clock first. We're going to go right through them. They're very, very easy. It's ji is added after a number. Ichiji, niji, sanji. It's never shiji and it's never yonji. It's always yoji. Goji, 5 o'clock. Rokuji, 6 o'clock. Shichiji, never nanaji, hachiji, hachiji. And 9 o'clock is kuji, not kyuji. And 10 o'clock is juji. I think you can guess what 11 o'clock is. Juichiji. And 12 o'clock, of course, is juniji. I was going to make a joke, but I don't want to confuse you. It is literally just juniji, very simply. We're going to take what we know with just these times, and we're going to make a very simple sentence. And I'm not going to show it to you. First, I want to just say it in English. I want you to try to guess what it is. What time will you go? We already know everything. What time will you go? How do you say what time? Just learned it. Nanji. What comes after a time? The time marker. The time marker is ni. Nanji ni ikimasu ka? What if you're going at 8 o'clock? Hachiji ni ikimasu. I'll go at 8. Hachiji ni ikimasu. What if you want to say, what time did you go? Nanji ni ikimashita ka? What time? At what time did you go? What if you went at 12? 12時に行きました. 12時に行きました. Very simple, right? What if you didn't go? Someone says, 何時に行きましたか? Oh yeah. You know what? 行きませんでした. 行きませんでした. Very simple, right? We know this. Let's add in the minutes. The minutes present a little bit of a tricky thing. 1 minute is 1分. Notice we have a 小さいつ. That's what it's called, by the way. A small つ, which means it's 1分. Never 1分. 1分. What about 2 minutes? Well, so in Japanese, 分 is minute, okay? But it's going to be different depending on what number. It's going to change. For example, for 1, it was 1分, which is not 1分. You can never say 1分. But you do have to say 2分. 3分, 4分, always 4分, never 10分, 5分, 6分, 7分, never 7分, 8分 or 8分, 9分, never 9分. 10分 can also be 10分. Sometimes in a language, you just have to do a drill where you memorize it. But there is a sort of a shortcut. Go have fun. Go fun. And the opposite of that is 10. You double it and now it's a pun. 10分. I don't know if that helps. It helps some people. It helped me when I was learning. So go have some fun. Go fun. Kind of a shortcut. So let's practice a little bit. I'm going to throw some clocks up on the screen. Let's see if you know what time it is. So I'm going to ask you. 何時ですか? そうです. That's right. 3時です. It is 3 o'clock. 何時ですか? By the way, you just say o'clock and then the minutes, okay? Like this timer here in English is 6:20. We don't say 6 o'clock, 20 minutes, but Japanese does. You have to have the ji and you have to have the pun. As a matter of fact, if you want to always be safe in Japanese, remember, numbers are almost always, like literally always, followed by a counter word. You need it. So the answer is 6時20分. 休みは何時ですか? Hey, here's a bonus. How'd you say what time was your break? Some of you remembered. 休みは何時でしたか? But that's not the question we're asking. We're asking 休みは何時ですか? And it is going to be, his break is at 1:15. 1時15分. 1時15分です. All right, now let's learn 3 more words so we can get a little bit more advanced. Han. Han means half past. The word half past comes after. It means, so in Japanese, you basically say 2 o'clock half. 2:30 would be 2時半. Now this word gozen means morning or AM, okay? And it comes in front of the word. So if you want to say 2 in the morning or 2 a.m., you say gozen 2時. If you want to say afternoon, it's gogo or PM, right? So 2 p.m. is gogo 2時. 10:30 a.m. 午前10時半. 午前10時半. You kind of don't say gogo 10時半. That's kind of awkward, right? It is PM, but that's like in the afternoon. You might say yoru, night. Yoru 10時半. Okay? So just remember that. Yoru, Y-O-R-U, yoru. We're going to learn 2 new particles, and they are particles that are, for the first time, 2-syllable particles. Kara and made. One is a start marker. It marks a start time, like from this time, or it marks a beginning location, like from Tokyo. And made is the opposite of that, until. So until this time or up until this location. So let's look at how it will work. 休みは何時からですか? Which means from what time is your break? We typically don't say that. It sounds weird. But the more Japanese you'll learn, the more that things don't exactly match in English. Your goal is to make the Japanese sound as natural as possible. What if it is from 1:15? 1時15分からです. 仕事はいつまでですか? Until when is your work? I could say also, 仕事は何時までですか? It is until 8 p.m. 午後8時までです. What if you want to ask, where does this train go up till? Your goal is to get to Osaka, but this train only goes up until its final destination being Nagoya. It'll say like bound for Osaka, but you need to know, hey, does this go to Osaka? I don't want to get off at Nagoya. この電車はどこまで行きますか? Where is this train going to? That's all you're saying. That's really what you mean. Where is this train going to? So made often gets translated to, just instead of the word until. For time, it mostly becomes until, right? So what if the answer is exactly what you want to hear? It goes to Osaka. Osaka made ikimasu. We have only been doing kara in the sentence or made in the sentence, but they are often together paired. So for example, you can say, 仕事は何時から何時までですか? 仕事は何時から何時までですか? From what time until what time is your work? What if your work was 8 a.m. until 5 p.m.? 午前8時から午後5時までです。午前8時から from 8 in the morning 午後 Oh, we did it! Oh, I actually did it. 午後5時までです。Okay? Let's look at locations. どこから来ましたか? You're going to hear this a lot. どこから来ましたか? It literally means where did you come from? But we know that this would not sound natural in English, so we're going to say, where are you from? I'm from America. アメリカから来ました。東京から京都まで行きましたか? What does that mean? 東京から京都まで行きましたか? Did you go from Tokyo to Kyoto? No, it was from Osaka. I'm not even saying went anymore. I'm changing the verb to something else. いいえ、大阪からでした. See, now I'm pointing out the mistake or the change, right? No, it wasn't from Tokyo. But did I go to Kyoto? Yeah, I did. Because I didn't change that, right? I was like, no, it was from... Oh, did you go to Kyoto from Tokyo? No, it was from Osaka. いいえ、大阪からでした. What if he was right? He asked you the question and you agree with it. Just say, はい、そうです, which is in lesson 3. All right, guys, that is the end of book 1. Good job. Look at that. You have been through this entire book. I'm just going to point out there are 335-ish pages. So, good job. I'll see you all in the next video where everything becomes red. No more blue backgrounds. Exciting, right? I know it's exciting. I'll see you all then. Bye-bye. じゃあね。